Hello, welcome to any combo lords joining me here today. We are in the combo classroom as often right now on that newish desk, which gives us a much better surface to stream on than at some times in the past. And there actually was a different location in the thumbnail I put for this stream, which is a location we'll try and take a field trip to because it's actually pretty close to the combo classroom within this stream. So we will try and visit that little zone, which is actually where my biggest whiteboard and second biggest clock are. Definitely not the biggest clock, because I don't believe I'm going to be moving this one anywhere anytime soon. I also got to be careful when I point this camera right at this angle, because I got to remember that I sprayed combo class on the wall, and if I'm at the wrong angle, we only see the last 3 letters of that. So, welcome to everybody joining me here today. We're going to have a few fun topics in this live video, which are going to include all of the T's in the title, such as this thing that they didn't write on the package as such. They called it a suspension tension balancing frame, but a title that I have often heard it called, and if you know the thing, you would probably have heard it called, is called a Tensegrity table, which is an interesting type of little mechanism you can design. Technically, tensegrity is just a physical type of, I don't know exactly what you'd call it, but some sort of force going on, or some way that forces can be combined. There was a really long Wikipedia article for it when I looked up what tensegrity on its own was. They say here that it's a structural principle based on a system of isolated components under compression inside a network of continuous tension and arranged in such a way that the compressed members do not touch each other while the something else. It's a long whole article. But really where you've probably heard it from is if you Google tensegrity, you'll see all the images of it look like these balancing things that are like, that's funny, that must be balancing because it has little thin wires that must be more rigid than it looks like. But it's not that the thin wires are rigid. They can actually be loose. It's a strange way of balancing things, a little paradoxical, you could say, sort of like a little physical, paradoxical to look at, but apparently physically accurate because it can exist, type of thing that can be built. And one of the ways people have built it is out of Lego, which is very fun toy game, whatever you want to call it. I loved Lego as a kid, and I still have all my bricks somewhere. Maybe someday. I've always wanted to find a way to mix those into a stop motion shot. Unfortunately, Legos are not perfectly cubic. I would prefer for my stop motion, it would work really well if I had little cubic Legos to demonstrate things. Their dimensions are a little off. However, we're going to still work with it in some shape or form in an episode. I'll do a Lego stop motion. Now, what I have here isn't Lego. It's a knockoff brand, which normally I'd be like, oh no, don't get the Mega Blocks. Don't mix those in. They're going to pollute the Lego mix. But that's okay, because this thing will be a self-contained miniature structure that does not need to mix with my Legos. It can just hang out near them. Now, what it is one of the things I showed in my last stream that got mailed to me at the private mailbox I have, where people can mail old clocks and stuff. Somebody who, it turns out it was one of my Patreon supporters, let me know it was them. I still haven't heard back whether they want me to shout them out for the very nice gift, so maybe I will do that in the future if they want. But for now, I'll just say much thanks to that Patreon supporter who, in addition to the help on there, sent me a bunch of cool science, games, toys, tools, whatever you want to call them. One of those was a knockoff Lego Tensegrity table, or Tensegrity table. I always get that word wrong. Or as they called it, a suspension tension balancing frame. Apparently this word tensegrity originally was coined by Buckminster Fuller, who actually is a really interesting guy. Did a lot of interesting work in different fields, from like philosophy to things like, I think, architecture and a variety of different things. So Buckminster Fuller, quite interesting guy, coined this apparently to mean tensional integrity. So when you combine tensional integrity, you get tensegrity. Although I guess pronunciation-wise it would be tensegrity, but I don't think that's how we're supposed to do it. Apparently, it also can sometimes be called floating compression. And we will build that right here during the first portion of our stream while we chat. During the second portion of our stream, we're going to try and take a field trip to the location that was in the thumbnail. And it's not too far from here, but when I go there, I am going to have to switch the Wi-Fi to a neighbor's Wi-Fi from mine. So there is a chance the stream's going to glitch and end there, and I'll have to restart a stream. The reason we're not doing the whole stream there is mostly because it's not near a charging port. And on this old laptop, its battery is not great at lasting off the wall. So we're only going to get a little bit of off the wall time. Not necessarily enough to build a whole Tensegrity table. So that new location will explain the tallest trees portion of the title, because some trees that will be near are redwood trees, which are probably the tallest trees on my block we will be at, and redwood trees, the species of them that we will be looking at, which is Sequoia sempervirens, or something along those lines, includes the largest tree in the world. So the largest tree in the world is the same type as the trees we will be visiting. And they are probably the biggest trees on the block. Now, tic-tac-toe in the middle is because I've been thinking about planning a ton of fun math episodes for grade -2, which we just started recently. The best episodes will be coming on the main Combo Class channel, the one just called Combo Class, where I put my more perfectionist finished episodes. So a lot of those I have brainstormed that I really want to talk about here, but I'm not going to because it'll spoil a really cool, like, 15-minute episode or whatever I want to make for that channel. But out of the ones I've been brainstorming, some of them can use, sometimes all the work that goes into brainstorming could be fun to do with you folks on stream. And one example of that is one of the episodes I'm going to do at some point in grade -2 is about solvable games. Games such as tic-tac-toe, Connect 4, or checkers, or even chess, where in these games, it is true based on the way that they are set up as a back and forth, taking turns with players know each other's things and all the rules that make those games similar in terms of the structure of play. It's true that in those games, it must be the case that either the first person has a tree of paths to follow based on anything they see, how they should react to it, a tree of what to do that will let the first person always win, or there is a tree that will let the second person always win, or there is a tree for both players that will let, in optimal play, it always end in a tie. It must be one of those three for those games. The difference is that with chess, the solution to it is so complex that mathematicians aren't sure if there's any way to describe the solution of chess in a shortened way that would fit in the universe, like in a computer the size of the universe. So mathematicians and philosophers and scientists are not sure if the solution to chess is something that humans or any alien species possible could maybe be able to come to just due to the size of that tree. But it exists in the, realm of math truths. And we can't prove chess during the episode. We'll discuss the philosophical implications of chess being provable but not known what the proof is. But what we can prove is stuff like Connect 4. Connect 4 has been proven. Now, that will be a long enough tree that we're gonna have to probably just quote some bits of it or flash it on screen, look up some way to show a condensed version of that tree. I'm not going to be able to show really quick every series of moves to do in Connect 4. However, in tic-tac-toe, I think that tic-tac-toe on a simple 3x3 grid, which as many of you probably already know is one of the games that under optimal play by both players will always end in a draw. There is no way for either player to force a win if the other person is playing optimally. Well, I think the tree of options for what both players should do to always make sure that they either win or tie, and if both players do that, it will be the tie case, then I think that would be simple enough to describe in an episode. In fact, as I was thinking about it, there was something that I had never thought about of a utterly simple, the by far easiest way to win tic-tac-toe, like when you can somehow trick the other player into not tying, is very simple to describe. And so if we have time in today's stream, when we're out by the other whiteboard where my bigger whiteboard is, when we take the field trip, we're going to look at some maps of tic-tac-toe. And we're going to start with the easier case and say, if you go first, what are all the possible things the enemy could do? What are all your possible reactions? How big is the tree that gets generated from that? And how can we condense it as short as possible? It's also a challenge to you folks. If you want to let me know, like in the Discord or subreddit or a comment after the stream later, if you think you have any condensed ways of describing tic-tac-toe, either for that easier case where you're the first player or the slightly harder case where you're the second player. How would you describe, as simple as possible, because there's got to be shortcuts to describe things in simpler terms, like instead of saying in both of these moves you do this, maybe you can say these are the type of moves where you go in the corner and these are the type of moves where you don't go in the corner, stuff like that. What is the simplest that you can describe one of those ways of making sure that one of the players either ties or wins Connect 4? Then once we put together that from both players' sides, then we know that optimally both players can get to that tie state. So that will be possibly an activity today, sort of just to brainstorm through it, because I'm not sure. I could look it up. I'm sure it's info online. Don't go out and look it up right now. No need to. You can later if you want, but we're going to try it ourselves. It's good for the brain. I thought it'll be a lot more fun and good for my brain to try and think through the tree myself instead of just looking up what is this tree. And in fact, there's a chance I'll hit a dead end and I'll be like, there's too many different options for me to write them all down. I can't condense this in a way that will fit in a live stream or an episode. So we might hit a brick wall, and that's what happens sometimes when you test it. Maybe if I look it up, I would have seen that there's a really, really long description that I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have gotten to that in a live stream. I think it's more likely we'll be able to get there, but in any case, better for us to try ourselves. I love testing something out, and then once I don't know what to test next and I run out of ideas, looking stuff up. So let me go through some comments while we take a look at, first let me just show you guys, this is what it's going to look like. So we have a lower platform, a floating-ish platform, and chains that look like they're holding up the floating platform, but the chains are very loose. They don't need to be like straight tall. They can be ones you can pluck and bend a little bit. So it looks like it would collapse downward. It doesn't due to tensegrity. Now, here's the pieces. Funny enough with that, and I'm going to look at the chat in a sec, but just to let you folks know, funny enough with these, I don't think it came with instructions. Maybe when I opened it, I lost the instructions somewhere. Oh, are these? Okay, yeah, maybe it did. Okay, never mind. They are here. Okay. But it's just, okay, they're really small. The instruction, you know how like sometimes instructions for things overdo it? And you're like, okay, I bought a screwdriver. Why did I have a 20-page manual for this? What could be in that 20-page manual about this screwdriver? Well, this is sort of the opposite. This is very minimalistic to describe how to make like a 56-piece thing. But luckily we do have them here. So that will help us build this. And after I look at some stream comments, what we'll do is I'll point the camera more toward the table. While I go back and forth from looking at the stream comments, I will look away from it a bit, point at the table so we can see. I'm going to probably call them Lego at some points, even though they're not. They're a knockoff brand. So, which is totally okay because this is just going to be chilling in the combo classroom, not needing to get taken apart and mixed with my Legos. And so in this case, we don't really need, expensive, high quality Lego. Now, Love you all who have joined and commented. Super awesome. Thank you. And someone asked, how am I? I am pretty good. I'm a bit tired out, and I'm a little worried that I could be coming down with some sort of germ or sickness. Hopefully just a little underslept or something. But still doing good. We have a fun field trip we'll see later in a moment, which is somewhere where I will actually be camping tonight. It is on my block. It is not very far, but it is, spoiler alert, a very nice spot in a different backyard on my block where I am watching the house this week, because it's good to have alliances with neighbors. So, someone saying Minecraft can model cubes. That's true. I don't think I'll ever get that deep into Minecraft. Does look like the type of game, if I was a gamer, I would have liked, but I'm not really a gamer. So, if anyone wants to make any really mathy things on Minecraft, they can let me know, and I'll let you know if I want to work them into an episode. Email me. Even if you have emailed before, sometimes I've missed some people in the fray of things, of being busy. If you ever want to, help with any sort of animations or editing or things like that, or if you happen to live in the Bay Area and want to help out on set, that is a possibility too. Now, as someone saying that if you get paid by the hour, it encourages you to make those really long manuals for things. That could be true, although, maybe that's more like paid for the page. So maybe the people paid for the hour took a really long time on the manual, and the people paid by the page wrote a really long manual. No, I'm kidding. I think there's ways for society to have people in jobs that they like enough that they do good jobs. And I think that people can inspire themselves to try and find a job and place in society that you would feel bad if you do a bad job, and that you want to do a good job. Like before, I was doing this as basically my weekly routine. I was a music teacher and math teacher, and before that I worked helping run retail in a music shop. And at those jobs, because I liked the places I was working, I didn't want to let the people or company or anything down, then I would have felt bad if I had done a bad job. So regardless of whether I was paid hourly or per amount of work, I would try and do a good enough job. Of course, not always the case. I'm not a perfect human, but try and find roles in society that it doesn't matter. You need good enough pay to survive, but try and find roles in society where you like your job a little bit. That can be really hard. So I took a really risky path, and I'm still on a risky path. So we'll see, to what degree I can prove it possible. But, work is hard. So good luck with that, everybody. And somebody said camping. And yes, in the place that we'll be field tripping to, that is right next to the thumbnail of this live stream, and is the place that was in the last video on this channel. The video, to anyone who saw my video about divisibility by 7. Also, I believe the person who sent these is here watching this possibly. So let me know if you want me to give any special shout out for this awesome gift. Very fun to build this during a live stream, along with the other ones. I actually have the other cool stuff in my room, but that stuff will show up in any room streams, and I'll probably put them on the desk here because I like the desk out here more. Now, somebody is mentioning various stuff, and class camping is fun, and a sleeping lab coat. Don't necessarily sleep in the lab coat, although I have slept in it before. I have slept in it a few times, but less frequently than I wear it during the day. And I have not showered in the coat yet. Or always day for me. We do some streams where night hits, and sometimes it gets timed right where the darkness strikes. But there are some room streams where it's been dark, and there's some streams out here where the darkness hits. It's different seasons for everyone at different times, and of course different time zones. But right now it is 1:22 in the afternoon for me. Getting near to 2, which some people would think is the signifier of grade -2, but nope. The most -2-like time on one of these clocks is 10, because that's 2 before the noon. So, if anything is our symbolic time of the grade, it would be 10 o'clock, because that is 2 before. So, we're going to unwrap this and look at some I always get the word wrong, Tensegrity. That's like part of why I put it in the title, so I could look there and say the word right. And we're also going to chat about some other things. So, in the episodes coming soon, a lot of the topics will be number theory related, and some of them there's a lot of grandiose topics I had planned for grade -2 that will be coming, but I'm not going to start off the bat with the 30-minute episodes. There's a few that were really grandiose that I almost put like near the end of grade -1, but then I got carried away with my test and my documentary-like finale. And those ones will be coming pretty soon. One about dice-like paradoxes, one about infinite reciprocal series, and a few other magical ones. But I'm going to start off with some more 10 or 15-minute episodes on that main combo class channel for the full finished ones. And they will be number theory-like at first. Okay, I was just playing with these. I should actually look at the instructions. They will be number theory related at first, meaning a lot of talking about whole numbers and rational numbers and what properties they have and which equations they fit, but which casual ways we can describe those equations. That's the magic of what's called number theory, is that it simultaneously has some of the most equation-y, mathy proofs and actual descriptions of certain problems, while having some of those problems be some of the simplest phrased open questions in math. Like, a lot of the open questions you can describe in one sentence are going to be something relating to something weird about whole numbers we still don't know, that sometimes is some whole equation to put together, but you can describe in a sentence. Like the twin prime conjecture. Some other really big ones in number theory are the proven Fermat's last theorem, which we will definitely do an episode about. In fact, the episode that I've been writing brainstorms about is about what's beyond Fermat's last theorem. Most of you know that you can't, what was proved by that, which I'll still go into. It's a fun history, but many of you already know Fermat's last theorem and that it was proven. We're also not going to go into the proof itself yet, because that is a very intense proof. But we're going to look at what other similar questions might you ask if you had already answered when can a to the n plus b to the n equals c to the n work with integers. The answer was, people usually describe it as only when the exponent is 1 or 2. But it actually works when the exponents are -1 or -2 also. So that's fun. So you could actually say that it's that a non-zero amount whose absolute value is less than, is 2 or less. So if you want to, that's a good thing to think through if anyone wants a brain exercise. If you knew that you can't have a cubed plus b cubed equals c cubed, could you also prove things about a to negative powers plus b to negative powers equaling c to negative powers? Or if you knew in general, not just cubed, but I mean cubed and beyond, that you can't have a to a third or more power plus b to that same equals c to that same. And negative exponents do make fractions, which will come up in an episode as well. A lot of these episodes, include some classic like extensions to concepts that people already know, but I also will try and explain those concepts for people who don't know them. For example, there'll be one that fractions do other stuff in, but since negative exponents are going to show up, I will for sure give a little demonstration anyway of like, okay, here's how and why negative exponents are fractions. I did do a short about that as well. So there is a short on this channel about that. Now, for those who love my shorts, I am going to put some of the best shorts on the other combo class channel this grade that I may go forward, because that channel needs some more people to find it. So many people found this channel from the shorts, and that was supposed to be my main channel originally. So I'm going to put a few of the shorts on there, not as frequently as on here, of the new ones I make, but I need to show the people on the Shorts app that channel as well. Someone's asking what this is about, and people are going to have to watch earlier in the streams if they ever want to catch up, because I usually explain them at the beginning. But we are making a special thing out of Lego and taking field trips and such. And let's see. So I line this up. This is a little confusing because they really ran quick with these instructions. This is the whole thing. There's 12 steps, and the steps are just a picture, basically. Like a little single image. So we'll try and make this work. I need another that looks like this, though. Now, of course, I do have some random topics to chat about, but feel free to leave any questions, and I will also be down to be answering whatever viewer questions I haven't covered before. Okay, yeah, it's just very confusing when they only have one picture, but I think I figured this out. For those who aren't interested in the building process, once it's nearly complete, you'll see why it's so cool. Because we're not just building any structure. It's going to look like it floats. So, let's see. Thank you to those who sometimes or often say that they think I am one of the more genuine YouTubers or things like that. I think I have become, over my life, a very open and honest person in certain ways. So, thank you. I try and make sure to be as open as I can, and I am a very honest person, so I guess that comes across as genuine, luckily. Now, people is also saying, imagine building a 4D shape, and we kind of are. We are building a really weird one, but the best way we could try and visualize the fourth dimension would be like a bunch of 3D shapes that are changing into each other. Like 3D shapes are each morphing into each other, and when you take time as a dimension, that's the fourth dimension. And as I'm building this, we are currently at one 3D cross-section of our 4D shape. Kind of. A cross-section of a 4D shape wouldn't look like me constantly moving stuff and putting it back and making this shape, but in a way, you could argue that I am making a 3D cross-section of a 4D shape, if we are using time as our fourth dimension. Which is a debate of its own, you know? Not really proven either way or not to what degree time is purely a temporal dimension, a spatial dimension, or what those even mean. I mean, there are many common theories about these, but these theories often evolve. Unlike in math, where when you prove something about numbers, you can be relatively sure that's going to stay proven and get more and more confirmed over time. In science, I'm always a little more skeptical to which, scientists aren't the ones saying that stuff's 100% sure. They give margins of error, like that, oh, this is 99.9% sure, that's 99.999% sure. And different amounts you could be wrong. But pop culture often runs with things like, buzzwords like quantum or dimension or stuff to say, scientists have proven this new thing. When often even the scientists are just saying, no, that's the leading hypothesis. which of course does not mean that you shouldn't believe the 99.9999999% sure ones, the ones that are 99 point a insane amount of 9% sure, such as like evolution and the earth isn't flat. Those should be believed. So people are describing some different ways of viewing the cross sections. I did promise at some point when I made an episode on the main combo class channel that was about the platonic solids in different dimensions. I did say at the end, since it hinted briefly at how many of certain things exist in the fourth dimension without really having the time to fully explain them. It was already one of the longer episodes. I mentioned that sometime we will return to the fourth dice mention. And I do intend to someday make an episode called The Fourth Dice Mention, where I explain how we can try and visualize cross-sections and shadows of a 4D shape or two. Now, of course, people are going to want the hypercube, also nicknamed the Tesseract, which is the 4D cube. And we will do that one. It's maybe the second, like most pure or fundamental, but it's not necessarily the most pure or fundamental. There's a 4D tetrahedron that is simpler, that is super underrated. And it has nicknames too, one of which is the Pentachoron. And I don't know why people are always talking about the Tesseract, never talking about the Pentachoron. So, and yeah, I can't, to those who like that I am able to read the chat, that is a plus side of some of these streams, although it does vary from stream to stream, because when I go off on a nice long rant or activity, I often don't read it for a little bit, or sometimes for much of the stream, depending on how much of an activity I have planned. But in this stream, it will be more chat heavy because I, right now at least, and probably for the whole stream, just have the camera on my face. And here, let me get this out of the sun a little more. I just have the camera on my face, which is, instead of when I have part of the screen showing, like when I'm on Desmos or Wikipedia or something, I have part of my screen showing, and then I usually have the chat on my phone because I don't have a second monitor or anything. And so then I check it way less frequently when it's on my phone. But this stream will be pretty heavy on being able to check the chat. I can't figure out how these are supposed to go. They look backwards. I need like a flipped version of these. Here we go. The colors are really off on this. These are all the same color. And they make it look like it's two radically different colors on parts of it. Unless, is that the new piece? Oh, okay. The darker ones are the new piece you put, because they compacted it so much. So that's smart. So they got the lights for the olds, the darks for the new ones you're putting on. So I'll try and follow this, but it's very quick. Not only is it only 12 steps, it's actually only 10 steps, because step 11's like, here's how to hold it. And step 12's like, here it is again. But they needed to fill 12. You want to know why? Because 12 is such a divisible number that by the time they got to 10, they either had to make a 2x5 or a 1x5, because it's two-sided. They could have had a 1x5 on both sides and have 10, or they could have a 2x3 on both sides and have 12. Way more divisible. 12 showed up here just like it shows up on egg cartons and stuff, just because it's so divisible. Highly composite. 12's like 6's older brother or cousin and friend. 6 is even more powerful and cool, but 12 does deserve the credit it gets as long as it's willing to share with 6. You know, it needs more credit. Reminder that since 12 is called dozen, there have been nicknames for the number 120, like 12 tens, or like what looks like, 12 with an extra 0 in our base. 120 used to be known as 100. And then the other 100 took over, and it became known as the long 100. So then it became just known as 120, and people forgot about those names. So let's have let's see. I got distracted reading the chat from some various ones. Someone asked if there's a cut in the live stream, and there's just little glitches because of my internet is still not on Ethernet. I'll try and get that at some point before long. To another thing, I want to give a huge shout out to the Patreon person who sent this, who is here in this stream, who is George. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, either Karozi or Karatzi, Karatzi maybe, or Karozi. George C. And people always have trouble writing my name, but they know how to pronounce it. It's backwards. So, but George Karozi or Karatzi is a great help. He has not only helped fund our stuff as one of the Patreon supporters, but he sent me all this cool stuff for us to have in the classroom. So everyone should be thankful for that, because now we're going to have that Galton board and snakes and stuff that I showed before, as well as this thing, which is even more fun than those, although we'll see, how well it ends up standing and being able to live in the classroom without always falling over. We'll probably be able to tuck it on the shelf and have it a stable enough home. But this one's extra fun because we got to build it. And I'm a fan of building Legos and stuff. So thanks so much, George. We love having fun toys in the combo classroom and little tools and demonstrations. And not only is this good live stream activity, but the other ones will also make for good topics as well. So someone's saying, yeah, step 11 and 12 are the very easy steps. Correct. I will show them again. By step 10, you have it built. And step 11, I think, says, then you turn it around. And then step 12 says, and this is what it looks like when it's turned around. So really all the work is in steps 1 through 9 and kind of 10. 10 is also basically the picture on the front package. So it's basically steps 1 through 9 and the picture on the front package. So let's see. Someone's saying if only we had 12 fingers. The funny thing is we have 12s on our fingers. What people don't like accepting is that there's no reason that if we chose hands for counting, it had to be A, the whole fingers as the unit, because they go divided into smaller sections, and B, that it had to include the thumbs. Because thumbs are, some people even call them different. They're like, I've heard people describe it as you have 4 fingers and a thumb. It's like sort of back and forth whether someone calls it 5 fingers or clarifies 5 digits, 4 of which are fingers, 1's a thumb. And so I usually call it 5 fingers. That's more casual, so I count the thumb. But it is an opposable thumb. It is different than most species have. It is why humans got so far ahead, arguably. It possibly could be the lever that set us toward the path of having bigger brains and such. Because all of that came from the ability to cook better, to make fires, to hunt better by making tools. And those things came from the opposable thumbs. So the opposable thumbs, some, historians aren't quite sure how much, but they were to some degree one of the huge levers toward humans ending up being the big brain species. And so we could arguably count them different. They have 2 notches on them instead of 3. So we could be like, maybe the thumbs are sort of our counting device as opposed to being something that you count on. And then if the thumb's the counting device, you have 12 notches per hand. Like perfect 12 right there. So we could have counted on those. In fact, there are societies who did something kind of like that. They even mixed the 5 and the 12 to make 60 in some societies. So there are ways we could have counted on the fingers, interestingly, that would have been 12-like. But we got stuck on the 10. Now, I will do a full episode this grade that will clarify a little more in depth why I think base 6 is the superior one. Because base 6 is really similar to base 10 is the funny thing, except for all the ways in which it's way better. It's far more similar to base 10 than either of them are to any other base between 2 and 11. Because 6 and 10 are semi-prime numbers, which are made up of a 2 times another prime. And so the base made up of 2 times 3 and the base made up of 2 times 5 are really similar. The base made up of 2 times 3 turns out to be way better, which I'll explain in the episode. But the funny thing about that is it wouldn't require like that fundamental of a... I mean, it would be a huge societal change to switch bases. Require massive translations and ways of teaching and such. But it wouldn't be that much of like a philosophical change, or like if you were describing it to an alien one versus the other, they would think base 6 is way more sensible. But those two are very similar on the big scale. And so it's almost like, because of that also, you don't really lose many traits when you go to base 6 from base 10. There's 1 or 2 things I can think of that are mildly harder, and then dozens of things that are easier. But most things either get easier or stay the same, because the bases are pretty similar. And the ones that stay the same sometimes get a slight upgrade. So it's almost like if we switch from base 10 to base 6, it would just be like tuning up the gears. It would just be like using the similar system, not fully throwing the system away, but just getting the system to the spot it's supposed to be at. A much more sensible semi-prime using the number 2. All right. Let's see. Someone said Vsauce did something, I think they mean Vsauce said the pun that person wrote about all of the numbers in the chat. He wanted to bring 3 knives, 4 survival, and so on. Yeah, I think I did see that. That was a Vsauce short or something. I'm a huge Vsauce fan. I haven't watched all of the shorts that he's put out recently, but I'm just like not that big of a shorts guy. I like filming them, but I don't watch them often. But I watch every single full-length episode Vsauce puts out. So, let's see. Somebody's saying 23 times pi squared equal, or is, okay, it says, it's hard to see the chat from this angle, so good. It says about 227, not equals. Let me see how close that is. That gets me curious. So pi squared is 9.87-ish. And if we multiply it by 23, we get 227.009. Pretty good. Now, my favorite of the approximations for pi still has to be, due to its simplicity, cube root of 31. The cube root of 31 is, so pi is 3.1415 at the beginning. This is 3.14138. So the level of difference between this and pi, let's see, pi minus cube root of 31 is 0.0002 off. That is within the margin that you would only ever need pi to that degree of correctness that cube root of 31 would mess something up if you were at a really small to really big scale. Like if you were dealing with anything like the size of these Lego pieces or whatever, the size of any of my clocks, you would not be able to physically tell the difference between cube root of 31 and pi. The funny thing is, like, with the amount of digits that I just have auto-memorized of pi from, like, having done a challenge where we memorized about 100 digits back in middle school 20 years ago, and still the 3.1415926.5 at least is stuck in my head. and then there's a few more that I'm not positive about. That amount is enough to calculate like an atomic amount of precision of pi. So, I like the math puns as well. We got some more of those. And those are always good. I used to say a lot of puns in my day-to-day life. I had to cut back on them. But I don't say them as much in my videos because I like things that do better under translation or that would hold up better in the future if slang changed. And so I often hold back from as much wordplay as like the core of my episodes, but I definitely like to have fun with it. As I realized one day, at first I loved wordplay, and then I thought like, oh man, all this stuff's kind of dependent on the English language, and I don't even like the English language that much. And then I realized after that, I was like, well, when I'm stuck in the base 10 system, I like looking at palindromic numbers and hyper 11s and stuff of the base. So if I'm stuck in English, I might as well make some puns. I personally think that all of the puns that are just like one word with one double meaning are a little played out. So I kind of like it when there's either like a triple meaning going on or two words in the sentence that are doing a double meaning, or like, you know, more than one word doing a double meaning. Those puns can be fun. So I think I got... Wait, no, I need a few more pieces on step 2, but I'm almost done with step 2. And like I said, to anyone new, we are going to be taking a field trip to the spot in the thumbnail. There's a small chance that when I switch to the internet that's there, the stream's going to die. Like when I'm switching internet, it's not going to like the 1 second pause in having any internet connection. But I feel like my streams are pretty used to getting a pause in internet connection. They're pretty good at dealing with it by just glitching. So we'll probably just have a glitch when we go over. Hopefully not a stream crash. If we do, we'll just do a... Here, I will say it here and now. If the stream crashes on the way over there for some reason, I'll restart it within an hour of it crashing because I'll be hanging over there anyway. And I will show you folks the tent I have there and such. There's a chance I'll even stream again later tonight, or I might do this tomorrow night or something as another camping-centric stream, because we'll take a look at a redwood on our field trip. That's a nice tall tree, but we'll look at my tent, but you know, it's not dark yet. Unless I do this stream for really long, it's not going to get dark here. So more likely, I mean, there's a chance this stream will go on until dark. Fixes. We'll just switch to the field trip stream at some point. Okay, I think we're back. We're back. Okay, cool. Okay, so the stream is a moment behind, but I believe we're back, and so since it's behind, I put it in the chat. And thank you all for sticking around. I'm glad that we had enough true combo lords with some time on their hands to stick around to a degree. Now, if it's lagging really bad, there is a chance that the other place I'm going's internet will be better, the internet on where we're field tripping. So, worst case scenario, we'll have to split the screen, and we will have to do the second half just in the field trip zone. Okay, so it is hopefully back. We'll continue building the table, and yes, I was talking to myself for much of that time. I can't see when it's always lagging for you, because partially from the delay, and then partially from the way it shows me the stream back. So I can't always know when I'm glitching and stuff. So if it's ever really bad, my true combo lords should say glitch alert in the chat. If it's ever getting so bad that it's messing up, you know, like a quarter or more of the stuff. So thank you all for sticking around, though. We'll continue building this onto step 4, which is a pretty short step, and then continue answering questions and chatting about other stuff like that. So one other topic we are going to discuss is some other divisibility hacks. I'm not sure if you all saw my video about 7 being weird. You could watch that later, but some, you know, things that you already probably know from it are how other things like multiples of 2 and even multiples of 3 have little hacks for knowing if the number is a multiple of that, if it's divisible by those. Multiples of 2, you just check the last digit of a number. Multiples of 3, you can add up all the digits and see if the digit sum is 3 even. And if you don't know that, you could add up all the digits of that and keep going till you know if it's 3 even or not. And those traits passed on to other stuff, like multiples of 6, you just check both of those qualities for a number. Multiples of 5 have a similar trait as 2, and stuff like that. So we were talking about 1-digit numbers, but those aren't the only combos you could do. It's less common that you'd need to know a multiple of something bigger, like a multiple of 20 or something, but maybe you would. Multiples of 20 happen to be really easy to spot, but what if you needed to know a multiple of 15, let's say? What if I needed to know if, like, 680 is a multiple of 15? Well, it ends in a 0, so it's a multiple of 5. Its digits add to 14, so it's not a multiple of 3. So it's not a multiple of 15, because just like 6 was the combo of 2 and 3, we can use the 3 trait and the 5 trait to test 15s. So any number that's a multiple of 15 has to end in a 0 or 5, and it has to have a digit sum that's 3 even. And if it passes those 2 traits, you're a multiple of 15. Now, if the digit sum's a multiple of 9 and it ends in a 0 or 5, we would then know the number must be a multiple of 45, because it must be divisible by 5 and 9. So, similarly, if the last digit is a 0, we actually get more data because we know it's even as well. If the last digit is a 0, but the digit sum's 3 even, it must be divisible by 2, 3, and 5, and thus by 30. So any number that ends in a 0, that has a digit sum that's 3 even, must be divisible by 30. We could also combine to 12, but with 12, we can't just say that the prime factors are 2s and 3. It does matter that there are 2 2s in the mix, so we're going to have to deal with 2 squared and 3. So with 2 squared, with 4, we noted in that little video how since 100 is divisible by 2 squared, kind of like how 10 was divisible by 2, we can check the last 2 digits of a number. And checking the last 2 digits of a number will tell us whether the whole thing is divisible by 4. Now, we can even go a little easier. One I didn't mention there is like 4s cycle back around every 20. And so we could really just look at the nearest 20. Like looking at the last 2 digits is like looking at the nearest 100. But if I had like the number 468, I could really just note it's 8 more than a multiple of 20. It has to be a multiple of 4. So you're going to have an easy time spotting, to a degree, the multiples of 4. And if it passes that trait and the 3 even digit sum trait, it's a multiple of 12. If it passes the 8 trait, which was the last 3 digits are a multiple of 8, a little harder to check in your head, but you can do it by cutting the number in half 3 times and seeing if it's still whole. If it passes that test and the 3 even test, it's a multiple of 24. Now, this works because these numbers are purely made up of those coprime things. And so, like, 12 was made up of 3 and 4. And that helps us out. You do have to be careful. You can't multiply 2 and 4's rules to get 8. So you have to know when to apply this. But you can think through why it would make sense for something like 15 using the 3 and 5 rule. If you were able to pull off the 7 rule quick in your head somehow, where you double the last digit, subtract it from the rest of the whole number, and then iterate the process if you're not sure yet, until you know if it's a multiple of 7 or not, then the whole number is or not. If somehow you're good at that, then you could do that and check if the last digit's even to know a multiple of 14. Or you could do that, and if the last digit was a 0, it would be a multiple of 70. Now, someone says 420 is a multiple of 7. Believe it or not, 420 is the smallest number divisible by all of the whole numbers 1 through 7 individually. So not like a factorial where 5040 is the 7 factorial. But 420 is actually the smallest number divisible by any of 1 through 7. And like I've said, that's obviously the reason it is discussed more than the average number in our culture. Now, 69 does have an interesting one too. 69 is the only number, or the smallest, I'm not sure if it's the smallest or only, that, I think it might be only, that between its square and its cube, all of the decimal digits are used exactly once. Like if you put its square and its cube next to each other, it would look like what I call a minimal pandigital, all combined. So you can find interesting things about all sorts of numbers, but funny enough, those two meme numbers have a little more than usual, And they are both threeven. So let's move on to, one more thing of step 4. We're almost at step 5, which means we are almost halfway through the actual steps, although it seems like there's more than half of the pieces. So we're basically at the point where we have one of the two things. One of these is going to be sitting, and the other is going to be hanging in a much more unexpected way. So now I got to make a little disc-like thing. Somebody mentioned 6 weeks is 10 factorial seconds. That's funny timing to mention that. I just thought about that yesterday because I was looking at the highly composite numbers list, just as I do for fun, just wake up, make my coffee, and look at that highly composite numbers list and all their divisors. Not even joking, really. But that's not like the list I look at in the morning. That was the one I was looking at this morning, or yesterday, maybe, I forget. But when I was looking at that in the past day or two, I noticed that I've mentioned before that 6 weeks is 10 factorial seconds, and in my factorials episode on the main combo class channel, I have a bunch of fun facts like that. There are 4 different facts I have that are similar to that are this amount of time is that amount of seconds, that are really weird. And on those ones, there's one that I didn't mention because it wasn't a factorial, and because I maybe didn't even notice it yet. But I also like the highly composite numbers. And I looked at how many minutes are in 1 week. And the amount of minutes in 1 week is a highly composite number that I've mentioned. It's the more practical 10,000. 10,080. 10,080 looks like that video resolution with another 0 thrown in. The video resolution isn't quite highly composite, but it doesn't have more divisors than any smaller number, but it's still very divisible for its size. And that one with the extra 0, as well as bigger mutations of them, are highly composite. And in fact, the one I did a special for recently, 110880, is sort of like the bigger brother of this whole thing. And the 10080, is not only one of those good old highly composites, and sort of the start of that family of appearance, which appears a few times on the highly composites in our base. I mean, the highly composites are the same in any base, but how they're written in our base is what makes them look like clones. So the start of the few clones that are highly composite is the one that's 10080 of that family. And it's not only highly composite, it's the exact amount of minutes in 1 week. So, because I was wondering, like, all the things on clocks are highly composite. You have 12 or 24, however you look at the hours, are highly composite. 60, highly composite. And so it's like, would 24 times 60 be highly composite? And it turns out by the time you've done 24 times 60, you've gotten a lot of 2s and 3s in your prime factorization, and you actually want a 7 to balance it out. 7 being the amount in a week. Normally a not that divisible useful amount for us to have put in a week, but luckily with our factorial facts, one of the factors that those factorials and highly composites might have. All right. So, let's see. Someone said, is it okay to call me half homeless? You can call me whatever you want. I have a very thick skin. It wouldn't technically be accurate because I live with my parents and brother, but I spend a lot of time out here and I will be sleeping in a tent tonight. So you can call me whatever you want. So, a lot of good questions. Oh, and we got some people on spring break. It was sort of like our spring break the last week or two, and to a degree this week while we've revved from grade -1 to grade -2. So this is almost like spring break because although I didn't want to stop making content, some of the content I made the past couple weeks was a little more like documentary-like or random jokes and gags like or different things, appreciating nature and such. And that will actually be allowed on this channel. I want folks to remember that this is my less perfectionist channel, and arguably the channel that in the future will probably have more random stuff mixed in with the math, because this is the channel where I'm going to put more random stuff compared to my other combo class channel. So to people who get bored if I do videos where I'm like talking about nature and philosophy and stuff, you make sure you're subscribed to the other combo class channel for sure, because those are discrete learning experiences. This channel is not guaranteed to always be a discrete learning experience of like one lesson I need to teach, because it is honestly my more uncut, less perfectionist channel. Although some people have been like, this video that I've posted, not like a live stream, but a video I've posted here, they're like, why isn't this on the main channel? It seems the same. I'm like, really? I'm kind of surprised people think that it seems the same for some of them, because although the topics are similar, on the main combo class channel, I usually have a lot more different facts mixed into an episode, and they're also a lot more visually engaging. They have a lot more different scenes and things planned. And in the videos on this channel, I think all of them so far, it maybe one or two weren't, but maybe all of them, if not most, were filmed in one take. I mean, I might have done one take I messed up before, but I mean, the one I ended up using was a single take that I literally just trimmed the beginning and end of and didn't like edit in any way. And so some of them I didn't even trim. Some I literally exported like the camera file and renamed it. So this channel is a little more on that end for everyone to remember. If you ever get bored with my nature and philosophy, that's going to be coming on this channel too. There's even going to be music I make coming on this channel, you know, announcements for books I write, random stuff. So make sure you're on that channel if you like discrete lessons. Make sure you're on both channels if you love joining me for the combo journey, because you will learn a lot more if you are on both channels. So, because I don't want to undersell this channel. I do spend a lot of time on it too. Now, Someone said I should turn the brightness down to save power, and right now I'm plugged in, so it's all good. But when I move to the field trip, that's a great idea. So, unless you meant to the other person talking about the computer. But for here on my computer, that's a great suggestion anyway, because I will be unplugged when I am in the coolest spot over on the field trip. And then we're going to either have to, like, when the battery's really low, just ride out how long the battery has on this old computer when it gets unplugged, or come back to the combo class. We'll see. Now, maybe if I end up camping there again in the future, I'll get a really long extension cord. If I had like a 50-foot extension cord, I could be plugged in at the spot I'm going to be at. But I don't have a 50-foot extension cord. All right. So, and I love all the different chats and questions from people in the comments as well. Remember that if you like to chat with more combo lords, there is the Discord server and the subreddit and the Patreon. Those are all awesome places. The Discord has a bunch of cool conversations. Subreddit has some cool posts. And the Patreon is very helpful for the show. And you do get bonus content on the Patreon too. So now it's time to build a little circle. And this circle is made up of 4 quadrants of a circle. So let's think, how much area and perimeter and stuff would this have? Just as for fun. With a given radius, if I had a radius r, then the total circumference is 2 pi r. And so 1/4 of that is 1/2 pi r. And these are r's, so the total perimeter of this, if it was perfectly circular, and this is called r, would be 2r plus 1/2 of a pi r. Someone double check me on that. And the area would be 1/4 of pi r squared. So that would just be pi r squared over 4. So there we go. Pi, you know, in a weird way, 4 is like the circle constant. Not fully true. You don't, I mean, the square constant. You don't really have a square constant in the same way, because it's like, as you go up dimensions, you're like, how it's just a different relationship as they build, going up dimensions. The circle constant isn't just for perimeter or area. It's true on all these different dimensions that it's in equations. And you could funny, though, or to like put it overly casually, say that just in terms of like certain traits of a square, that pi is 4. Because if you drew what's kind of like a radius and you went sideways, like from the middle to the side, then you would have 4r squared instead of pi r squared amount of area. So, in a weird, just in terms of area, not in terms of the other dimensions, 4 is the square constant. However, you could argue that your radius in the square is actually supposed to go from the middle to the corner. Then you get a completely different answer. All right. By the way, to whoever asked about cool food combinations in the chat, probably none of you have this accessible, but when I was on the campfire the other day, I was roasting some strawberries. And first of all, I did roast marshmallows too at the campfire, and marshmallows and cooked strawberries was insanely good. The strawberries on their own taste like pie filling, like slightly less sweet, but very similar flavor to pie flavoring. I mean, like the filling of a pie, you know. And other foods are good to cook on the fire too. Like fruits are really good. And one hack I've shown in a snack break episode is that you can wrap apples and pears and that type of fruit. Even like nectarines are really good to do this with, peaches. You can wrap different fruits in foil, throw them in a campfire or even an oven,
and cook them for a while, and they taste like pie filling. And with a strawberry, because it cooks kind of fast, you could, do it like a marshmallow. I wanted to do blueberries, but I didn't have a thin enough stick to stab them on. They're making the strawberries bigger these days. You seen? They make the strawberries really big these days. I support it. I am pro helping the strawberries get big. I want a future where my children can eat a blueberry with a fork and a knife. Okay, so it's almost a circle. It actually has this in the middle. So it's a different thing than I thought. So we have a slightly elongated one, an oval-like shape. I would say ellipse, but just having this center bit added to a circle is not going to make this fit the perfect ellipse equation. So now, let's see. Somebody's noting that a lot of them aren't berries. We did mention that in my Halloween special, actually. Why would we mention that those berries aren't... Wait, no. Wait, hold on. Blueberries are berries. Don't hold your horses. Starting with good facts, but you got to make sure that they're right. Blueberries are berries. Strawberries, raspberries are not botanically berries. Bananas are. But blueberries are both. They are botanically and culturally berries. And same with cranberries. And those are two of the only commonly eaten berries that are both considered a berry and are botanically one. But like bananas, like was mentioned, are botanically. And why would I have mentioned that in a Halloween special? Well, because pumpkins are berries, botanically. Yeah, so you may have been thinking blackberries. Blackberries are not. Blackberries and strawberries are considered an aggregate fruit, and a strawberry, I believe, is not only an aggregate fruit, but considered an aggregate accessory fruit, because the actual fruits are the little seed-looking things on the outside. So, gotta love good fruit trees. Can't wait till the summer. There's also an infinite amount of blackberries, by which I mean an amount that you can pick like an insane amount of without worrying that you're taking all of them from other people. Like there's like enough that everyone can pick an insane amount whoever would visit there. At certain parts of the coastal areas near my house and the foresty areas. And so weren't able to do that last grade because of all my surgeries and stuff. But this grade, we will do a snack break at some point for one of our snack break episodes where we will go blackberry picking and figure out something fun to do with any amount of blackberries that we would want to get our hands on. All right. Let's see. And yeah, fruit versus vegetable conspiracy we actually haven't done, which was going to be one of the first episodes ever in my early proto drafts of combo class that I didn't end up putting in the grade, but there will at some point, kind of like I did the berry conspiracy on Halloween, be an episode about the fruit and vegetable conspiracy. Okay, so we're getting pretty close to flipping the page. After I put one or two more on, we're done with the first page, which, as we saw, is most of the instructions. All right. Cool. lot of good discussion of fruits. It's funny, I do like talking about fruits and vegetables and stuff. I find them to be fun topics. And so often when I'm hanging out with friends and or like acquaintances or stuff, one of the first questions that I'll ask people, if just chatting to kill time, if I haven't asked someone this yet, is what are your top 10 favorite fruits? And I like hearing it, like hearing people's different diversity and opinion, and some people naming fruits that I'm very surprised they would list that highly as top 10. And also that right at the beginning, a lot of people are like, 10 fruits? That's a crazy amount to make a top list of. But then they start thinking through all the fruits. And by the end, they're usually like, can I have 11? So it actually, it seems like 10 is more than enough, but it's really hard to limit down your favorite fruits to 10 if you're a fruit fan. And then, of course, there is the debate that I have realized with friends we've had is it varies whether you're talking about eating a fruit as a single experience, like I'm taking a bite of this fruit, or whether you include its culinary uses. Like you're not going to eat a raw lemon that often, but lemon, if you count cooking with it, is a top 10 fruit. It is so powerful and special and very useful. So depending on whether you count cooking, definitely changes it. And similarly, like, would you count avocado, which is technically a fruit, but you don't eat in the same way you eat many fruits. And similarly, well, semi-similarly, part of the debate we had was it will also change depending on whether you're asking the fruits at their best or the fruits at their average. Because some fruits could be more hit or miss. Maybe you really hate when an apricot is mushy, but when they're really good, you love them. Then you're going to have a more hit or miss experience than like maybe you always think a banana is a B grade fruit. So there's a few, quantifiers you'd have to do if you really want to nail down your top 10. If anyone wants to leave one in the comments, we'll say that the rules we're playing by are it is here for just eating. It's for how good it is to eat. We're not going to say counting you need to not use them in cooking otherwise or stuff. And we are going to say it includes anything that's botanically a fruit, which is the part of the plant with the seed in it. And we're going to say that it's based on the fruits at their best. So I'll give mine at some point in the future because I'll need to rethink to make sure I'm not missing any, but it would definitely include cherries, blueberries, strawberries, mango, watermelon. My outlier that a lot of people don't understand is maybe persimmon. And I mean those flat ones, not the really long ones that have to get mushy, the flatter, firmer ones. Maybe one of the things in the lychee family, or as some call it, lychee, which those have a really interesting, unique taste. Let's see. If I had to nominate a member of the citrus family, if we were talking about cooking included, then lemon wins. If we're talking in general, like just about to eat it as a fruit, I'm going to say that my favorite citrus would probably be tangerine. And I'm sure I'm missing some that I love. There's a lot of good fruits. All right. Now, here's actually the bottom base. I guess this is the hanging bit. And these things are going to go right there with this stuff on top. And that. Now, I'm excited to see how this works because although I've seen pictures of these things, I've never seen one in real life. And essentially what's going to happen is this is going to end up like this. And it's going to look kind of like it's floating because the things connected to it are going to be these chains. So first of all, like as if it's a magic trick, which it kind of is, let's note that the chains are very flexible, you know. These chains are not rigid. The trick isn't that they're like really firm and can hold it up because they're glued like this. So if I had the chain on its own and something up there, normally you'd expect if there's something attached to the top, it would go like that. So someone said sprinkle some sugar on lemon and eat it. Now, if you were going to eat a plain lemon, a good lemon doesn't even necessarily need sugar. Those like really good like Meyer lemon style ones, which I do have a tree of in our yard, are so sweet if you take a bite of them. They taste like sour candy. And I do like taking a bite of a lemon here and there because it is a unique, powerful taste. I've done challenges in the past way long ago where I ate multiple whole lemons in a row with the peels. And oh yeah, careful with citric acid, whoever commented about that. So I bought citric acid once because I wanted to make citric acid, or I wanted to make sour jello. I used to be really into making homemade jello for fun. Now, I'll do an episode about that at some point because, you know, jello's fun. And I already have some footage of me making my family eat some crazy homemade jellos because I tried like weird stuff in them. I got the pure gelatin and made like hot sauce jello and ketchup jello and all sorts of crazy stuff. Black pepper jello, weird stuff. So then I wanted to make actually good jellos, like, and this was partially for that, to make a really sour jello, partially because I just wanted to make good ones like that. I got citric acid, but when I bought it online, I was like, okay, it says the 2-pound bag isn't that much cheaper than the 1-pound bag. So, wait, what's going on here? Oh, I have one more of these on there than I need. These actually go on this one. So, I was like, the 2-pound bag's not that much more expensive than the 1-pound bag. Why not get the 2-pound bag of citric acid? Well, it turns out 1 pound would have been more than enough. Citric acid's packs a punch for its size, or it's really light or something, but 2 pounds of citric acid is massive. I'm gonna have that bag in my cupboard forever. So one time I had somebody who like needed citric acid for some cooking thing, and I was like, I have enough, please take it from me. You can take all the bag, or take 80% of the bag, and then I'll still have more than enough. But citric acid's really strong and powerful, and yeah, it can burn your tongue if you eat too much of it at once. But if you're careful, you can take citric acid and very carefully, to not use too much, sprinkle it on like fruit snacks or some sort of candy to make your own sour candy. I used to do that. Homemade sour candy to your own specified intensity. All right. And we're getting pretty close here. Now, leave a suggestion for if we return to making Jello sometime, what flavor of Jello you would like to see. Because there were some wild ones, you know. I tried sour, spicy, and all sorts of stuff. I made pure cayenne Jello and stuff. Cinnamon Jello and stuff. Someone asked if citric acid's worse than cinnamon. Per amount, yes. If you tried to do citric acid at the amount that people do the cinnamon challenge, you would really mess up your tongue. So, citric acid is like actually powerful. You gotta use it very lightly. Like when I'm saying that, it's not when I'm like, well, you know, I seem like pretty encouraging of going out and exploring and experiencing the world. There's not that many things I tell people not to do or to be careful about even, but that's something to be careful about, citric acid. Now, it is stronger than cinnamon, but it wouldn't make you choke in the same way the cinnamon challenge would. It would just like burn your tongue severely. So we shall connect this and connect this. And we are very close to connecting the chain. Oh, yeah, here's the chains next. Okay. So. Okay, I might have missed some, or maybe they gave me extra of some. Where do those little pieces go? There's some little ones that I don't know where they're supposed to go. Let's see. This goes on there. And it gets that. Where do these two little ones go? They go... Maybe I'll need them to support the chain somehow? Oh, they go on these little spots, it looks like. They just snuck them on in one. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Now, speaking of most viewed videos, because somebody mentioned one of theirs in here, one of my videos on here is now past 13 million views. That is absolutely insane to me. This channel, I forgot, I might have mentioned this in the description. Yesterday was exactly 1 year since I filmed any content that might have shown up on this channel. I was already filming, I had filmed the first few episodes for the main combo class channel, but they weren't out yet. And the shorts, I actually first started filming some to try posting on TikTok, but some of the good ones that I ended up making there did end up here. So I'm not sure if it was exactly on last April 11th that any of that content got on this channel, but some of the videos might have. And since everything I'd filmed before that was just on the other combo class channel so far, this channel's content is currently now exactly at most 1 year old. And this, I'm doing something weird about this. Let's see. So, this goes like this, maybe. And wait, no, that's facing me. This is going like this. Okay. Then we are going, okay, so let's get a close view in case it all comes together correct. Okay. Let's see. So far we're like, okay, these are loose chains. What's that supposed to do? How's this supposed to hold this up in any way? However, we have one more chain. Wait, there is one more of these pieces. Where was this supposed to go? Maybe they just gave me an extra or something. So, this is going to change things. Although this looks like, how would that stay up? This chain, which is still just as loose, I'm going to clip on here. And if that feels really weird. It feels like magnetism. Wait, it's not going to the place where it's fully staying, but it will in a minute if I get it right. Whoa. Okay, so putting it up feels... Now, at first you might be like, well, that part's linked, so yeah, it's not falling because it's connected. But what about this top part? Because the top part is just floating up there. Now, let's see. Okay, if you do it wrong, then the top part falls right over. Putting it up feels weird. It feels like magnetism. So, because if you have it at the wrong spot, you feel gravity pulling you down. And as you go up, you feel some of that force, like that tensegrity tension, whatever, where these are like holding up, even though if you like bent them at all, it like wants to fall almost. Oh no. Okay. I'm messing with it too much. Let me reset it back up. I think this was the right direction. Okay. So there you go. Now, when you look up pictures of other ones, you can see other variations of ways in which it looks paradoxical from different angles or different amounts of different places. So let's see how much we can spin it and move it. Oh yeah, you got to be really light with it. So even if there's wind in the combo classroom, it's going to knock it down. I bet you I'm going to set this up somewhere here, and every time I come back, it's going to be down because of the wind or something. So that's pretty cool. Let's see if it can support any weight. Can it support a die? Not right there. Maybe it can support it more on this end. How many dice do you think I'm going to get? Is it even going to be the weight that sends it off or my inability to stack the dice? All right, so it can hold a decent amount of weight. I don't know if I have anything heavier than dice that's easy enough to stack to test a really heavy thing. I'll keep stacking dice, but the dice themselves are going to fall before long. Oh. Okay. So that's pretty cool. We're going to definitely keep this up in the combo classroom. Thanks again to George, one of the Patreon supporters, who sent us some cool classroom gear as well. So that takes care of our Lego-ish building portion. And like I said, we still have a little field trip-ish portion. So with this field trip-ish portion, what we're going to do is, let me go inside for a second real quick, just to go pee and grab anything I'll need over there. And then, so we're going to have like a 3-minute alone time, but you guys are great at chatting here in this thing, and maybe a squirrel will run by. I'll point this at the angle where you'll get to see it if one does. And once I come back in like 3 minutes, we are going to relocate And the relocation process, I'm probably going to have to shut off the visual for a moment to make sure I don't show any addresses. But I will chat with you folks while we walk over somewhere cool. And then I'll turn the camera back on. So I'll be back in a few minutes. Everyone get ready for a field trip. You can look at the last video I put out on this channel if you want a sneak preview of where we are going. Alright, so I'm not going to be able to plug in there where we're going on a field trip.
And I am going to have to unplug now and not have too much battery, because this is an oldish computer that the battery does not last too long when it's unplugged. If we are having enough fun, let's see. And if we don't, we'll end the stream and say goodbye then. So if I need to do a more chaotic goodbye then, be warned that it could vanish and I'll return another day with a lot more fun content. In the meantime, before we get to our field trip location, we might have to try doing one visit by something else in the yard, which is very nice, which is my cat Dandelion. And someone says they saw a cut in the live stream. I'm not able to edit these. It must be a glitch. If I was able to pre-film these and answer all the comments, that would be quite a trick. So if this was pre-filmed, I'm pretty psychic. So, but what we're gonna do is, in our field trip, first maybe pause by the front yard, because Dandelion, my cat, seems to be right there. So Dandelion we will definitely get to see. If the stream dies before we get to the field trip zone because I'm switching internet, I'll restart a stream before long. So if we go to if it crashes, come back in like half an hour or so and there will be a new stream once I make sure we're fully charged and stuff. Right now what we're gonna do is turn off the lightness here, and then by lightness I mean everything, unless maybe I'll put something fun in the background, or no, I don't really have that set up, I don't think. So we're gonna have to see, is that just pure blackness if I bury it, or still there? Okay, so we might have to go to pure blackness for a moment, but you will have my voice, and then I will turn us back on when we have a dandelion or when we are at the field trip place. By a dandelion, I am referring to a very soft cat. And I think I saw him out here, is why I mentioned it. And there he is. So we have to do a little dandelion break first. And this is our little dandelion break. One moment. Doesn't he have a royal mane? When we got him, he was like pure black, but he's turned so golden over the years as he spends time outside. So that's a good boy. Dandelion, we gotta go on a field trip. I'll come back and pet you later. Okay. So now we need to vanish again for a moment. Hopefully people enjoyed our miniature dandelion break. And we are now taking a little stroll. Camped in my life in California, have these around, and they're just massive. So this one is on the way smaller end of how big they can get. They can get like dozens of meters across. And this one is quite tall as well. So, a few more redwoods over there, along with my tent. because I figured nice night to camp out. Hear those birds? Those will wake me up in the morning. Nice to wake up to bird song and fresh air. And a few more redwoods right over there. Of course, had to bring my whiteboard here. And a few classroom supplies. And it was a nice little zone to film a bonus video. I also filmed a bonus short I haven't put out yet that took place right here. I figured we'll live stream here as well. And get... Oh, hey, Sage. So, this is close enough to my house that it's within my cat's range. That the cats explore out into other yards. And Sage came over, the other cat. That's a good boy. Look, it's a little Sage Boo. That's a good little boy. Come here. Sage. Sage. I'm gonna put this down so we can see Sage this time. That's a good boy. Well, that was a nice video. I don't know if you could see him. Here's little Sage. So, nice to get a little nature break every once in a while. I also mentioned that we might draw some tic-tac-toe boards, and we can try starting those, although, like I said, the battery situation, we'll have to see how it's going. I'll make sure that I have everything quit as possible, and yeah, and we will hope that it doesn't. Someone said turn down the brightness might help, but I can't turn it all the way down. But it's not going to last forever. We will still try and draw a few tic-tac-toe boards for fun. First, let me see if we got any comments about our dandelions and such. So, let's see. Someone's correct that it's not good to share your age on the internet, probably if you are younger. Just good not to share too much personal data on the internet if you don't need, although obviously I'm an exception because there's a lot of, knowledge about my name and such already out there. And cats and stuff. And if someone asked why there's an ad here, there shouldn't be ads in the middle of the stream. I have the maybe if your page refreshed or something. Unless that YouTube put one when I told them it shouldn't. But they asked me a button of whether there should be ads at what places. On my streams, I say there should be one at the beginning because I need to try and make some money to afford being able to do this. But I don't put them in the middle. So I don't ever click the ads in the middle thing because I want my streams to be able to be uninterrupted for people. And so hopefully they don't add any other ones. And if they put it in the middle, that's annoying because I didn't click that. And which means that I don't get anything from it if they put one. But let's see. The cats, someone said, is Dandelion straight friendly? If you mean really friendly. Dandelion is very friendly. Okay, let's see. This is a bit. So, let's see. Okay. It's working right now, hopefully. Maybe you said, okay. I'm gonna probably have to try restarting it anyway because
So many people left that it says I have -1 concurrent viewers. That can't be possible. So, okay. I can see the comments. So I know there's... Oh, Sage, look. Can you see Sage right there? Sec. Sage, that's a good boy. What are you doing there, Sage? Trying to help out? Okay. So, if it's actually working, okay, I'm not sure if it's going to work. So, I'm going to have to resume the stream either a little bit later for a camping stream, or I could try and resume it more shortly. But the internet doesn't seem to work right here. So, I'll have to just hang out with Sage and restart the stream in another location after I pet Sage here. So, all right. So, sorry to anybody who had to go because of all the craziness and probably can't hear this. But since it doesn't seem to mostly be working, I will be stopping the stream here and resuming with somewhere with better internet in 10 minutes. So, all right.